Okay, welcome to this introduction to Survey123 for ArcGIS. My name is Ismael Chivite. I work as a product manager in Esri, and with me is...
Marika, hello. I work on the Survey123 and App Studio development team in the Melbourne R&D office in Australia.
So we are very excited today to introduce this new product, Survey123. We started working on this project in November 2014. Yeah. And it was released actually just 2 days ago, right? We actually went through a very, very active beta program. In fact, last I counted, which was yesterday, we had over 2,000 ArcGIS Online organizations participating in the beta program. So while it is the first release, I can tell you people have been using this for a while in the field to capture data. And we are very proud of all the feedback that people got to us to finally release the product. Survey123 is a form-centric data collection solution in ArcGIS. A form or a questionnaire or a survey is just a list of questions. Typically questions in paper that you complete. Forms and questionnaires are used across many different industries to capture data in the field. How many of you have people today filling out forms in your organizations? Can you raise your hand? I mean, it's actually the most common way to capture information, including in the field. In Esri, for many years, we actually have neglected form data collection workflows, because we have leaned towards using map-centric workflows, which are fantastic, and they have a great use case. But what about forms? Can I capture data with forms and put this information in ArcGIS so I can exploit the geographic aspect of them? Forms, in fact, are not just used in the back office, but also in the field to capture data, to do inspections, assessments, for code enforcement, to do asset inventory, or even to do interviews to people. Now, in every one of these, in a damage assessment, in an interview, you can capture geographic questions as well. Where do you live? Where is the building that I am assessing? And all of that information we want to bring into ArcGIS. Survey123 is really about transforming these paper forms into forms, smart forms that run on mobile devices, so people can capture data with them very easily. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of Survey123. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the survey123.arcgis.com website. This is where you come when you want to start using the software. Survey123 is not just a mobile application. It is a complete solution for you to create your own forms, actually smart forms. And we will talk about what smart forms mean in a minute. Survey123 lets you capture information in the field with these smart forms that you published into ArcGIS. And finally, it also lets you use the information captured, exploit the geographic aspect so you can make the best decisions. And we tried to make sure that these 3 steps, creating the forms and publishing, using them in the field, and understanding the data, could be done by anyone without much of a GIS skill at all. We want a doctor to really create a form, publish it, capture data, and then look at the data. And we don't want this doctor to be an ArcGIS Pro expert, right? So the way this works is very simple. I'm going to sign in, and here you will use your own ArcGIS Online credentials, okay? If you don't have ArcGIS Online credentials, you can always try a free trial ArcGIS subscription, and you sign in. When you sign in, we get you into the Survey123 website. Okay. In here, you have a gallery, and this gallery represents all of the surveys that you have published so far. Now let's create a survey from scratch, okay? So I'm going to go into Create New Survey, and you see that we have two options. You can create your survey on the web, or you can use a tool called Survey123 Connect. We are going to see them both. Let's start on the web. So first of all, I'm going to give it a name to my survey. So say we are doing some sort of asset inspection. Okay, so that's the name of my survey. I'll get a summary done as well. Asset inspection sample survey for the UC 2016. I'm going to associate a thumbnail, a representative image with my survey, and I'm going to create my survey. This process of creating smart forms, mechanically you are going to see is very simple, but it actually, to create good forms, it takes time, collaboration between people figuring out what are the exact questions that you want to make in the field. You want to follow a process where you get your form to people in the field, you get some data, and you figure, oh, I need to change a few questions, I'm going to try again. Okay? We will see the mechanics, but I'm just pointing out that there is really an art on figuring out how to put the questions in the right order and ask the right questions. Anyways, let's start building the form. This is an asset inspection. So I'm going to start with a single line text type of question, which I'm going to label with the asset ID. And I'm going to make this question required, because I don't want anyone in the field to send an asset inspection without referring to the specific asset ID. Next, I'm going to add a single choice question. So I can drag and drop this into my form and start defining the properties. In this question, I'm going to ask the field user for the status. So you can see that we have choices. One choice is good. The other one is needs repair. And finally, in case that you didn't have actually time to properly assess the asset, I'm going to say not assessed. I couldn't do a proper inspection of this asset. What is the default value that I want? Well, by default, I'm going to choose not assessed. And I don't like these options to be organized vertically, because I know people are going to be using their smartphone. So I'm going to arrange them horizontally. Okay? Let's go back into the add section and add the next question. The next question is going to be where. Where is this asset? So again, I click on the left and set the properties on the right. So this will be the location. Here I could change the base map if this one I don't like, etc. Okay, let's for now just preview the survey. So you click on preview and we open a window where you can actually start typing in, changing the properties, setting the location of the asset. Is this exactly what we want? No, not quite there. So I'm going to go back to the design environment and add other questions. So what I want to do next is I want to ask people, if an asset needs repair, what type of things do we need to do? So for that, I'm going to set a rule, because I don't want to ask questions unnecessarily, because it complicates things. Only if you tell me the asset needs repair, I will ask you what needs to be done in the asset. So first of all, I'm going to add a multi-line text type of question. And then I'm going to say here, describe repairs needed. And I'm going to restrict this to say 100 characters. You can see here, right? Now this question will typically show always. So if I preview, you can see that my status is good and you still ask me what repairs are needed. This makes absolutely no sense. So let's change that. I'm going to set a rule. So I select this question and I say set rule. If the answer is needs repair, you're going to show me describe repairs needed. So let's preview this. And now if it needs repair, the question shows, otherwise it's hidden. This is exactly what I wanted, right? This form that I created is going to work on a web browser, in my desktop, but also in a mobile device. Are you happy with this? Actually, I want to, this guy is happy. Excellent. Let's just go and say we want to understand when this asset inspection was done. So I'm going to add, what type of question should I add here? Date, right? So you bring it here, and maybe actually you want to bring it over to the top and say date of inspection. Now, I don't want people, every time they do an inspection, to have to go into the calendar and set the date. First, because it's unnecessary, it's a pain, and they can make a mistake. So I'm going to set a default value. And this default value is today, right? So now I preview, and automatically displays today's date. Now, if you want to change this, maybe you did the asset inspection yesterday, you can change that as well. As you can see, as you will see, there are actually lots of options where you can control exactly what this form is going to behave. Now I'm going to publish. So what is happening here is interesting, right? Because typically when you are creating projects for ArcGIS, where do you start? You start at the bottom, thinking about the data model. You go into ArcGIS Pro, you create a file, geodatabase, feature class, subtypes, domains, and eventually you get in the app. We have reversed the workflow. Think about the questions that you want, the rules and the look and feel, and the software will parse, will understand your flow, and we will create the feature service for you. And that's exactly what happened. So at this moment, if I go back to my surveys, I have my asset inspection survey. And under the covers, we actually have a feature service with domains and rules and all of that stuff that is needed. Okay, so I have the survey. What do I need to do now for people to capture data? This survey is my survey. Nobody can see it. But if I go to the collaborate option here, I can actually share my survey with members of my organization or maybe with a specific group of people. Okay? So I share with members of my org, and now I'm going to actually use the form from my mobile device. As I told you, you can actually use a web browser to submit data, but often when you are in the field, you are not connected, right? So for this, we have created a specific native application that runs offline, so you can download these surveys while you are in the field and capture data with them. So now you are looking at my phone, okay? This application runs on Google Play, Windows Phone, as well as iOS. And I downloaded the app already from the store. You can see it here, right? This is the Survey123 app. And when you open the app, you can log in. And once you log in, we will show all the surveys that have been shared with you. So I think we have created and shared a few, we have invited some of you to join our organization. So if you actually log in into the application, you should be able to now download, look carefully here, because you can access the download surveys, and you can actually see the asset inspection. And now you can download the survey. Why am I downloading the survey? Because I want to capture data even if disconnected. So now that I have the form in my device, I can go into the field and work in airplane mode if I want and capture data. Okay, so here's my asset inspection form, the one I authored on the web. It's now running on my mobile device. So the asset ID, in my case, is going to be 55TT, for example. And you guys, you can start capturing data already, okay? No, you can, whatever asset ID you want. You can just make it up. The status needs repair. So say needs a new valve. And you know what? I forgot to save the form. That's why I don't see the date. I completely forgot to save before I click publish. Anyways, here is the location. So the location, you can see, it's a no-brainer. The map is centered where I am. So I can actually right now say, okay, go and submit the data right away. But alternatively, could you capture some data as well?
Yeah.
Alternatively, I can tap on the map. If you tap on the map, I bring the whole map up, and you can zoom in, and you can actually move the coordinates. Because often, say you are doing a damage assessment of a building across the street. So we center the map roughly where you are, but you can now define the exact coordinates. You can also change the base map, in case that you want to use a different base map. And then once you are done, you can pretty much submit the data into the database. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to switch to number 5 here. And now I am back in my survey gallery. It says, please check again later because there is no data. I'm going to simply refresh my browser here. Can you submit data?
Yeah, have 5.
Did I use the wrong account? Did you see the survey?
But you didn't have all your choices, though.
Right. I think I logged in the wrong account.
Oh.
Survey123.
You see 2016, that's the one?
Yeah. Okay. In the app. But you guys did or not?
Yeah, I did.
Because I see 13
Yeah.
already. And I am going to check today. Okay. So you guys submitted data, okay, from your device. 13 of them. And I actually can see here the users that submitted data, right? So this is kind of interesting. This chart is telling me when data is being submitted to the survey. This is telling me who is actually submitting data. So Marika won 5. Please try to beat her and submit a few more. And then we can actually look at the raw data, right? Where is this data being captured? So someone actually captured something in Seattle, not bad. And most of it is in San Diego. Right? Very good. You can see the table with all the answers here. In fact, you can kind of jump between the different points. And I can go into the Analyze tab. The Analyze tab is really about showing a summary of the data. So in this case, the first question is the asset ID. So you can see here the different asset IDs that were sent. You can see that a total of, in this case, 16 records were submitted, and nobody skipped the question. Why? Because I flagged it as required. You cannot submit without this asset ID. And then let's have a look at the status. Mostly, I cannot say that you are optimistic, right? But we break it down here. In fact, you can have a map here and represent with a different color the different statuses, right? And finally, repairs needed. We have here, some of the words that you type. Actually, if you keep pushing and we reach 20, we will create a word cloud. You know what a word cloud is? Yes? We'll see that in a second because I have some slides there that show it. Okay, so what you saw in this quick tour is sort of the simplest way to get things done. Author my survey, publish it, capture data, and then look at the results. How difficult is this? Is it complicated? No. Do you think you could do it? Most importantly, do you think people in your organizations will be able to do it as well? That's the whole point. They can discover, maps. It's not difficult, right? Recap. Survey123 website. This is the location where you need to go to start playing. Okay? This, if you come here, this is already hooked into your ArcGIS Online account. But if you have Portal for ArcGIS, this actually also works with Portal for ArcGIS. There are ways to publish your surveys to your own portal and ArcGIS server. The hub, we call this the hub, the Survey123 hub, is the place where you create and manage surveys. You author them, you share them with groups, you can delete them. You can also view the results right away as an overview, the raw results, summarized results, and even download the results of the survey. This is a chart which is showing a trend, right? This is actually real data from one of the beta testers. You can see that they started a campaign in late 2015. You see at the beginning, they start with some quick tests, and once they are really ready, poof, the data collection effort goes up very quickly. A total of 3,000 records were captured by 300 different participants. And that's the contribution over time, which you can define the time window. In this case, you can see that most data was captured during the week, and less on the weekends. This is the raw data, and I want to highlight the download data option. So if you want to bring this data into a third-party tool for analysis, you can actually download the data in CSV, shapefile, or file geodatabase format. And also, if we have time, we will actually use this option. Do you see this option here? This will literally open your survey data in the ArcGIS.com viewer. So you can do analysis, smart mapping. You can actually even open ArcGIS Pro and access this data to do QA/QC analysis and so on. This is a view of the overview, in a survey with more data. There are lots of interesting things you can do here. Like, for example, this is a list of options, right, that we provide people. So you can actually sort the options to understand which options are more popular, least popular. You can change the representation of the data to different charts. You can create maps right from the Survey123 website. And this is a word cloud. So this is a user in the beta that was capturing data, and they accumulated enough words, enough submissions that we summarize. How can you summarize nodes? Well, just pick up the most common words and show them, right? We also looked at the field application. So this field app is obviously form-centric. What's the advantage of this app? That is super simple to use. You present this to a field user, and there is absolutely no training that you need, right? The questions are right there. There are very few buttons, actually. It's very difficult to get lost. It works online and offline. You don't need to be connected to capture data. You only need to be connected to push the data and to download the surveys. It's available on the different app stores. You can download it already. But it also works on your desktop and laptop. So sometimes I have seen people that actually want to use the field app from their Windows machine, Windows 7 machine. It runs. It actually runs in Ubuntu Linux, in your Mac as well. Okay, so that's kind of the basics, right? But Survey123 is really about smarter surveys than what you have seen. You saw a few little things, but the amount of things you can do with Survey in terms of smart features is really amazing. So I'm going to show you some examples here that I have in my phone, of the things that people are doing. Okay, I have loaded a few forms here. Let's have a quick tour of them. I'm going to start with the water waste report survey. Here you can see already that we can capture things that you typically cannot capture in ArcGIS. One of them is time, right? You can capture dates, but what about time? How easily you can capture time? You can capture or model questions that support multiple choices, not just one choice. You are used to geodatabase domains, right? Geodatabase domains provide you a list where you can select one choice. But what if you want to select several choices? So Survey123 supports multiple choice questions, as you can see here. Of course, photos. Let's take a photo here. You can rotate the photo, and if you actually want to, you can even rename the photo. So when you download it, you can actually find it, right? This is audience. What else? The map you already saw, but let me tell you a few things about the map, right? One of them is that I like very much is that right now we are given a 65-meter accuracy, right, by the device itself. I have seen people using Bluetooth-enabled GNSS receivers to improve the location accuracy that you get in Survey123. Because sometimes the phone don't give you the best accuracy, particularly in remote areas. But you can improve it even in your consumer device. The other one is averaging. If I tap and hold the center button, this is going to start capturing the location from the location service in the device. And it's going to average the coordinates, right? It's GPS averaging. You can stop it after some time. Here's a single question, no big deal. And here we have an option to show and hide questions. You already saw this, right, in the simple survey I authored. But what you didn't see is that you can actually even capture signatures. That's another type of question that we support within ArcGIS and Survey. Next survey I want to show you here.
Fire with
Which
notes.
one should I go with?
Fire with notes. Fire.
The fire assessment? Okay, let's go with fire assessment. I like this survey. It's a longer survey, right? It has more questions. It's interesting because during the beta program, we configured the application to gather information about the things that you do. We saw people building surveys with 2,000 questions. Now, 2,000 questions seems intimidating, but if you think about hiding and showing questions to the user, they may not look like 2,000 questions. They may look much more, simpler. Now, 2,000 questions is really pushing the limits, okay? Now, what I like about this survey is that it's using nodes. In a form, not only you can add questions, you can add nodes. And nodes are important because they tell the field user how the data must be captured in the field. For example, here when I'm doing a fire assessment, I need to work on a site that covers an area of 30-meter radius. And we use the node to tell the user this. Nodes can get fancy. In this case, I'm using bullets, bold and italics, different tricks to organize the node better. And you can even include images. Images are important because they can help people make the right call while in the field. We have been working with some folks in Oregon that they were building a survey to capture locations of wolves. So they included an image that differentiates a wolf from a coyote right in the form. Some other folks were working with turtles, so they had a photo, of the turtle, this type of turtle or that type of turtle. That was part of the form. The other thing I like about this one is that it has rules that control the user input. For example, if I say, what's the percentage of elevated fuel that burned? 50%. Not burned, 25%. Fuel scorched, 50%. That makes absolutely no sense, right? It goes over 100. So you can see here 125 was automatically calculated for me, and it's telling me this makes no sense. You need to add up to 100. So now I can go back here and say, oh, okay, I made a mistake, so I'm going to make this 25, right? And now the information is actually correct, and I will not get any message back, right? So in these forms, you can actually use expressions and formulas to control the user input. Let's have a look at other forms here. Let's look at, let's go with this one. This one I got yesterday from one of the users that are using Survey123. They are from Abu Dhabi. So obviously the form is in Arabic. This application is localized into all the different languages that are supported in ArcGIS Online. So you are in Korea, this application works in Korean. But most interestingly, the forms that you author support multiple languages. So we have people in Canada. In Canada, some people like to speak French, others speak English. No problem. Because you can create one form that has a French view and an English view. So here, I'm going to switch to English. It's exactly the same form. The data submitted will go against exactly the same table, but I present the form in the language that the end user expects. Now, this form is very cool. You can see that they are doing sort of an inventory of businesses in the municipalities of Abu Dhabi, Western Region, and Al Ain. Now, they need to define the municipality and the territory, kind of district of the city where they are working. So if you look at this list, the contents of this list are determined by the selection that you made in the previous question. This is known as a cascading select. So if I select Abu Dhabi, I get the districts or territories in Abu Dhabi. But if I select Al Ain, I get only the districts and territories in this particular municipality. And because these lists can get actually pretty big, specifically, these lists here, we are talking about 1,500 different choices that they modeled in the form. Because it's difficult sometimes, you can actually use autosuggest. So they configured the list with autosuggest. We first narrow down the choices to your municipality, but if that's not enough, we even give you autocomplete. You are very quiet.
I have a question. So since you can have the survey in 2 languages, is my resultant data sheet going to be in 2 languages?
That's a great question. If this form is in 2 languages, in what language are you going to store the results, right? So as you will see in a second when we start authoring the forms, you can actually define, you can decide, I'm going to store all the results in French, even though some people will display the form in English, right? This works for categorical questions with choices. Now, if you let people type in notes, if you type in Arabic, in the database, we store it in Arabic, right? If you type in English, in English. Is that making sense? The other aspect of this is these guys added barcode scanning, right? So I'm going to use this question right here, and I'm going to scan this barcode. This is super useful. Sometimes you want to capture the ID of assets, and the IDs are fairly complicated, like here, room for error, super big. But by scanning the barcode, you get exactly the ID, you cannot make any mistakes, right? So then we have the name, of the business, and then remarks. Remarks is also interesting. In remarks, they used a technique in smart forms called repeats. So this is like related tables in ArcGIS, right? You have a collection of questions that you want to ask. So I want to add multiple remarks. So this will be remark 1. And then you take a photo, of the business with remark 1, and then say, you set the severity to 7, and then you say one more. So this will be remark 2. And then you capture, the photo, and you say number 2, and so on and so forth. Right? Is that making sense? This happens all the time. You are doing an inspection and there are 3 things that you want to highlight. Repeat. You go and do an interview, a household interview, right, for a population census, and you want to capture the roster of households, of people in the household. So what's the name of your, first kid, your second kid, your third kid? That is a repeat. And they also use this technique of HTML formatting. So when you are building your forms, you can actually add HTML tags in your form to do all sorts of things, like changing the color of the question, changing the color of the response, or in this case, they added an option where you can actually make a phone call right from the form. This could be the phone of, the business or the department of whatever. And this is calling to myself in this case, because I changed the phone number. But anyways, once you are done, you basically send it, and this goes into the database, into the feature service. So this illustrates some of the things that you can do with smart forms in Survey123. This one is kind of interesting too. It's a tree survey, and you can see that in this case, we added an image in the background. This could be the logo to give it a touch, to the survey as well. And this one is kind of interesting, right? This is another arrangement for categorical questions where you can select one option. Now, the big question is, how do I put all of these smarts in the form? The web authoring environment that we described before doesn't have all of these options. The web environment is really designed to make things quick. But where things get really interesting is when you get into the full spec of the smart forms, right? So just as a recap, what makes a form smart? Types of questions. We saw some of them. Form logic and validation. We also saw some of it. Remember with the percentages? What makes a form smart? The look and feel. Let me control as much as possible how or what these questions are going to look like, because it's important for people in the field to render things in ways that are as closer as possible as paper, because they were used to that. To create the smartest forms, you will need a tool called Survey123 Connect for ArcGIS. It works in combination with a spreadsheet editor. You add questions to the spreadsheet, you preview them in Survey123 Connect. Then you push a button and it publishes your smart survey into ArcGIS. Typically, I like to use Microsoft Excel to define the rules of my survey. Then I preview the results in Connect. I go back and forth. And finally, I push the button and I publish into Survey123. Let's have a look at Survey123 Connect next.
So this is Survey123 Connect on my desktop. You might recognise some of these surveys were also on Ismail's device when he did the preview earlier. I'm going to look at one of them in a little more detail. I'm going to look at this water waste report. So when I select the survey, it actually gives me a preview of what it will look like. It shows the date and time question, similar to the one we looked at earlier, the multiple select, and similar to the web, you get to interact with this preview of the survey, before you go in and put it on your device. So you can see how it will behave. So you can see that this survey is comprised of two sections, one here titled Violation Details, and you can add a photo, a note, and there's some offender details in another section. So to edit this survey, I would open the spreadsheet in a spreadsheet editor, obviously Excel here on this machine, and you can see that the questions are organised down the left here. Each one of the category is called a type, and each row represents a single question. The first set of questions are here grouped together, and the first one is our example of date time. Now online, when Ismail added the date time field, he actually hit a checkbox to say what the default date was. It was going to be now. So if we go across to the right-hand side, we can see actually how that default is defined in the spreadsheet. So you can see I have a column called default over here, highlight it. And the way today is actually expressed in an XLSForm, which is what we're describing here, is by using the term now. That's exactly the same as what Ismail did online by hitting the checkbox. So that was a date time question. The other one that we looked at before was the select multiple. So if I flick back to Connect, here we've got overwatering, broken sprinkler, time of day, violation. This is a list of values that the user can select from. And the way that is represented in Excel is by the type of question called select multiple. And our select multiple has a name here called violation types. This list of types is one that you define in a list of choices, which is contained on another tab in the same spreadsheet. So if we go and find the list name of violation types, what you'll see is actually the list of names that were displayed in our survey. And to answer the lady's question from earlier on, how do I dictate what language my answer is saved in? You would define that over here in the name of your field. It might be displayed in one language on the screen, but the value that's going to be stored in your data is what comes from the name field here. Yes. Yes, so you can actually, over here on the right-hand side, you can see I have a label called language. So depending, this is actually how it would be displayed on screen. So I would have my English label here and my French, Arabic, German. So when you use the switcher in the app, it's this label that's actually going to be changed in the display. Yes? So if you've got a long list, perhaps you've got a really long list, you would actually define it here in this spreadsheet as another tab. And what would happen is during the publication process, it will generate another CSV table So you can manage a very long list in a separate file.
So if I had a list already created on the server, and I just wanted to read it here, then I put it on a separate tab.
No, I mean, so the question is, I already have a list in a feature service, right, in a domain. How do I bring it here? So, well, basically, you can export your geodatabase domain to a table. There is a GP tool to export, and then you bring it over here, right? You can bring it either in this spreadsheet, or as Marika was describing, there is another technique where you can actually use external select. It's another technique. But essentially, you bring the table into the spreadsheet, and then when we publish the form, we will create the geodatabase domain with all the choices that you included here, right? Yeah, in some cases, actually, people want to use the existing feature service. So I already have the feature service. Don't create it for me. It's actually possible as well. I'm not sure if you go to the settings tab, there is a property in here in settings.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Right. It's called submission URL, on which you can define the feature service that you want to use to persist the data. It's kind of an advanced workflow.
So returning to the survey, actually there was a nice question type in the Abu Dhabi example that I thought maybe we add here. So and that was the question of severity. Did anyone notice that one down the bottom? It had a green and red slider bar. I'll show you how we can add that one here. So we'll add it to the existing table. I'll just insert a new row in this first group. Now it's of the type
Use the list.
integer. I can type that manually, or I can use this drop down to show me available question types. So this is just a bonus, I suppose, you get with Excel. If you're on another operating system and you're not using Excel, just note, these won't be there. Where's integer? I went straight past it, it's the one at the top of the list. So you can either choose to make sure you've got the right name or enter it yourself. So it's a question type of integer. We give the name of it is what the name in the ultimate feature service will be. It'll be called severity. Choose the severity of the violation. And the way you get the green and red slider bar is by defining the appearance. Again, I can type it in here, but available appearances should be in the drop down. So in this case, the appearance is called like RT. Called distress. Like RT was the last one that Ishmael showed you, where there was 3 bullet points on a scale bar. So the one we want here is distress. So now if I hit save and flick back over to Connect, you'll see Connect has recognised that I hit save in the spreadsheet, and it's automatically updating the survey. And if I scroll on down to my last question, we now have a distress-styled integer question. What's actually saved in the database is just the number. But the presentation to the user is a little bit more than just a number.
So how would you publish this to ArcGIS?
I'm glad you asked. So I've actually signed in already as the same user that Ishmael used earlier on, and all I choose to do is to upload to ArcGIS Online. When I publish the survey, in the same way as when we did this online, it generated the feature services that I needed in the tables. It's doing exactly the same thing here. And once finished, it'll be available in the Survey123 website to view and manage and share.
On the photos, where you can change the name, is that by default now, or is that an option that you can put into?
To be able to change it is a default. Yes.
So the question is, with the photos, can you always change the name, or by default you can change the photo name? So what I'm going to do is to log in Survey123 to see the form that you just published. Which account did you use?
The same one.
The publisher?
Yep.
So let's see. There you go. Water waste report. So again, I can share it, I can bring it into my device, and we can start capturing data right away. How cool is that?
It's up here.
Is there any way to, as an end user, you have a device and you're logging that file that has an issue, to have that file displayed on that base map so they know the location of the
In the application? Right. So that's a great question. Can the map in the application show things that other people around me are doing? Can I see in the map the assets that I already inspected? The answer is, at this moment, no. The map is simply put in the form for reference, so you can properly, pinpoint the location of the thing that you are doing. But it won't be live. Among other things, because often you work disconnected, so you won't see what others see, right?
So if we have a base set of data of valves, you think the location is off, there's no way to include that?
Well, so the question is, if I have my own assets that I want to display in the base map, how do I do it, right? So we did a very simple demonstration where we were choosing Esri base maps, but you can actually create your own base maps. Typically, you use ArcGIS Pro. You bring a base map from your own organization or Esri, you display on top your assets, you push the, create TPK GP tool, and then that TPK file can actually be associated with your form. The other approach actually is to say, no, don't create the TPK, simply point to an existing tiled service that I may have created, right? So it's kind of an online map. You have two choices.
I've got 240 offices that my users in the field are affiliated with, and I have a table of zip codes to those offices. Can I add, let's say, the zip code and then populate those other fields, pulling from that table with those offices so they don't have to type their office code and their office name into the form?
Yes, that is possible. Did you hear the question? Raise your hand if you didn't. Okay, so the question is, I want people to select an option from a list, say a zip code, and I want other questions in my form to be automatically populated according to the zip code. So that's achieved through calculation, right? One of the many columns, that Marika was showing was calculations. There you can type formulas, and in these formulas you can reference questions or answers in other questions. So you can actually parse the response and figure, if this is the zip code, I'm going to put the name, this name here. And we have another session next, or maybe tomorrow. There is an advanced Survey123 session where we go in more detail into doing these kind of more advanced things. Yes. So the question is dependent pick lists. Who can answer this question from the audience? Do we support dependent lists? Yes? How do we call that? Cascading selects. You probably remember when I was doing the Arabic kind of form, there was a dependable list, right? You selected the municipality and I was filtering out the territories or districts. Is that what you meant? Cascading selects.
Can you use these forms for the public to populate?
Great question. Everything we did requires a named user account when you are capturing the data. Can I create a form and share it with everyone? Coming soon. Everything can be done. It's just a matter of priorities. Right now, we have a good pile of things that we want to do before going after crowdsourcing efforts. Just to be, for context, we really want to enable Survey123 for crowdsourcing, okay? But we want to do it with identities, where people can use their Facebook account or their Gmail account to log into the app, and then whatever surveys you shared with this Facebook account, you will see and compile. And the reason is that for crowdsourcing, often you really want to know who is submitting what, because otherwise you cannot do proper QA/QC, and second, you cannot even acknowledge people who are contributing good data, so they contribute more. We want to get that one first, crowdsourcing with identities, and once we get that in, we will do the anonymous, published with everyone workflow. But if you think about it, we'll need to do a lot of work in the app, because the last thing you want is when you open Survey123 to see 3,000 surveys that people have shared with everyone, right? So we need to figure a good workflow to pop the forms that have been shared with everyone in a manner that is clear for people. Long story short, it's coming.
Can you tie this to your assets in a database and have it override a value already written there?
This is exactly one of the things we want to do before sharing with everyone. We want Survey123 to be able not just to add new entries into the feature service, but actually pull features from your feature service and let you edit them. Because right now you cannot do that. You can only capture new information. You cannot edit existing data. So that one we want to do quick. I'm going to just go through some slides and we will go back to questions in a minute. Marika was showing you this Excel spreadsheet. Where is this coming from? Did Esri put together this convention? No. We are using a standard, the XLSForm standard. XLSForms are used across many different solutions out there for forms. You can learn more about using spreadsheets in the online help. In the GeoNet group, so we have a Survey123 GeoNet group where the community can ask questions. We actually have a blog where we cover specific things about using XLSForms. We in fact have a YouTube channel where there are tutorials that teach you XLSForms. At first, they may seem a little bit intimidating, right? It's a big Excel file with lots of columns. But I can tell you, if you spend just one afternoon trying to really, go through the doc, understanding, reading a little bit, I know these days people don't read, right? Because we are used to Twitter and things like that. But if you read a little bit, you will really love the XLSForms because you can do so many things, with the calculations and the constraints and the formulas. It's really powerful. And of course, we have the Twitter as well, in case you want to follow up on things that we are doing. Let's keep going with more questions.
So if you are disconnected, how does the base map work then? Can you pre-plan like in Collector and download tiles?
Great question. If I am disconnected, how do you display the map? So you have two options. One is you configure an online map, so the map will not show when you are offline, but you can still capture the location. Or you can configure your survey with a TPK, a tile package. You can provision the device with this TPK so it will show while offline. Okay. Right now, the workflow in Survey123 is such that the author of the survey defines the extent of the area that people will download. Everybody will download the same area. Down the road, we also want to implement a workflow where from the app, like in Collector, the field user can define exactly the area where they want to work. Okay? Yes?
This goes along the lines of using an asset ID, pre-existing one to kind of auto-populate it, reduce errors. Can you use a base map to extract that from the base map?
Okay, so the question.
And then also, is there any compatibility with collectors?
Great question. So the question is, this business of defining the unique ID of the asset can get tricky, right? Can I push on a map, because I see the feature on the map, can I push on it and automatically populate the asset ID in my form? The answer is no. It's not possible. The map is only for reference, right? That type of thing you can do in Collector, right? So that begs the question, should I use Collector or should I use Survey123, right? So when you think about that one, you need to think, Collector is ideal for map-centric workflows. I have a map, click on the map, get the attributes, I edit the attributes. Survey123 is about form-centric data collection, where you start with the questions. What you are going to see over time is a blend. We want to bring some smart form capabilities into Collector. We want to improve the mapping capabilities of Survey123 for ArcGIS. It makes sense to have both because there are extremes, pure form-centric, pure map-centric, and we want to get better. But there is somewhere in the middle where you will need to actually think about it seriously. You'll need to start familiarizing yourselves with both tools and then decide which one works best.
What does the database look like, especially in the case where you had a multi-pick list on some attributes? How does that materialize?
Okay, so the question is, when you have a multiple choice question, how do you model that in the geodatabase? I mean, with single choices, it's easy, right? It's a geodatabase domain. But with multiple choices, how do you store this in the database? So at the moment, what we are doing is we get your choices, and we create a comma-separated list, which we persist in a field. That's how it's done. Yes?
If you're collecting data as Ansible or something like that, can you export it to maybe like a PDF or a report, email, or something like that?
You mean for the reports? So the question is, if I go into the Survey123 website and I look at the summary, the report, can I export to PDF? At the moment, no. And we really wanted to get that done by the UC, but we just didn't have time. So the team is actually working on it. I was told it works in Chrome, but it doesn't work in other browsers. So we are not ready to release yet, but it will come soon. But on this one, on reporting, and I know reporting is super important, right? Because why do we go to the field to capture data if it is not to really look at the data and the reports? I have seen people doing very creative things. So the other day I was talking with a customer that was capturing the data in Survey123, downloading the data into their Access database, and then in Access, they used the reporting capabilities in Access to create the reports and export. Yes?
Could you consume that feature service from Survey123 in Collector to follow up?
Great question too. Can I use this data in Survey123 in other ArcGIS applications? And the answer is, of course, yes. Survey123 is an ArcGIS application. So if I go here to Data, and I click right here, you will actually see that at the end of the day, Survey123 is working with a flat, standard, feature service. This is just a feature service. So you can load this in ArcGIS Pro, in Operations Dashboard. You can edit this with Collector. So actually, some people are combining Survey and Collector. I capture with Survey.
So I've got an example in there's a local government area in Australia where they have a bunch of contractors that are going out with Survey123 and they're doing an initial sweep. It's a urban forest project. So the contractors are going out and collecting new features, and the people from their department are actually following with Collector and actually completing the actual project.
That's what we're going to do with our sign inventory.
Yep.
We'll have an engineer do the inspection of the Collector as long as I can get his work
Yep.
right.
Right. So you can see here in this case, right, I'm using a smart mapping in the map viewer to create a renderer, create a web map, and this is working straight on top of my my feature service from Survey.
Do you have to have an organization account to create one of these, or do you need free accounts?
Good question. Do I need an ArcGIS organizational account, or can I use a public account? You need a true ArcGIS organizational account for this. In fact, you need it not only to capture data, but also to create the surveys. Right?
I see out there that you can collect signatures inside the survey.
Can we capture signatures in the survey? Yes. Yes. I thought we did that one.
Yep.
Didn't we? Yes.
Showed it, but what does it translate to?
What do signatures translate into? Into attachments. Attachments that you can show in the pop-up. Right? Photos and signatures are really images. That's what they are. Right? Images at the end of the day. I'll show you very quickly here. What is this? Yes. This is the signature thing, right? You see that? That's just an image. Yes.
Storage space, if you're working offline out in the field, how much space does it take, and then when does it actually, when you transfer it then, when you get it back online, does it remove that data from your
Okay.
device?
So storage. We work on mobile devices. I'm concerned about the storage. The storage varies, right? Depends on the number of questions, but fundamentally whether you use photos or not. Like photos in an iPhone are like huge, right? So that's going to determine really pretty much the storage on your device. When you have data in your device and you send it, we don't delete it from the mobile device unless you really want to delete it. Okay? So if we go back to number 1, Marika, on the display, you will see that for every one of my surveys, I have different boxes. Or think of email, right? I have an outbox, and I have a sent folder. So you see, this is in my sent folder. This is a survey that I already sent, but it's already here. I didn't delete it. Why? Because you may actually want to go here and say, I actually want to go back to this, and I want to send it again, right? But if you don't want to do that, you're running out of space, option 1 is basically to delete the data from your device, which you can actually do here in the settings, advanced. You can delete submitted surveys right there to clean up, right? You can, in fact, even clear the map cache that you may have accumulated over time. I guess, how much time do we have left?
I think this is it.
One more question.
Do you support subforms?
Subforms. No. We don't support subforms just yet. Yeah.
So how are credits consumed inside of ArcGIS Online, particularly when you're talking about those large iPhones?
Right. The credit consumption in ArcGIS Online, some people get scared with the credits, right? Because the images are heavy and we charge for the storage. The pricing in terms of credits for the storage of images is not the feature service storage price. Okay, so we have 2 tiers of storage. The feature service, which is a little bit more expensive, and then the general storage, like for tiles. So I don't remember the price exactly, but we can actually look. Then when we are done with the session, we can come and look. But it's fairly low. It's like the same pricing as for tiles in your cache map services. And also the other thing you should know is that if you are concerned about, and you should, about the size of photos, you should be concerned because it's expensive to send them over, and also potentially they can take a lot of space in your disk. There is actually an option here that you can use to control, number 5. You can use to control the size of the images. So as the author of the survey, you can say, when people submit photos, send them small, right? So small photos are typically under 0.5 MB. Or you can say unrestricted. How much time is left?
10 minutes.
Oh, we have 10 minutes. Yes.
Can you have it, instead of using credits, can you have it redirect to your own server?
Question, can I use my own ArcGIS server with Survey123? Does anyone know the answer to that? Yes. You can use actually 10.3.1, 10.4, 10.4.1. Okay? There was a question in the back. Yes?
Yeah, can you email out information that comes from this to a particular, so if you're doing a building inspection?
Yes. That's a great question. And the answer is no. You cannot email the information. But there is always a solution to things. So here's how we start. Are you familiar with ArcGIS Ideas? No? So ArcGIS Ideas is the place where you tell Esri the features that you really need. It's super important when you create an idea that you lay down the use case, right, for your features. And then people can vote on it. So you can see here some of the ideas that people have submitted so far on Survey123. We released 2 days ago, and the idea site actually is like just a few weeks old. But I absolutely encourage you to come here, look at the ideas, and create your own. It takes some thinking to create good ideas, okay? Articulate the use case and the features, but we really look into this. We have done it through the entire beta program, and of course we are not going to stop now. And this came several times. How do I create physical evidence that I actually capture data in the field? I can send you an email, or we are even working on techniques where you can use a Bluetooth printer to print on paper the data that you capture, so I can give to Marika, say, I want to give her a fine. Here's the fine. Yes?
If you have a lot of questions in your survey, can you break it up into a tab view instead of having to scroll?
Yes, that's another one. I have a lot of questions in my survey. Instead of having them scroll all the way, can you break it down into pages? We just don't have pages yet. Yes. We have groups, though. You can group your questions together to logically separate the questions, but not pages just yet.
So this is beta?
Is this beta?
I don't know.
Is this beta? No. No. It was released Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's how you find out. You follow us on Twitter, and you'll be always on top of it. More questions? Yes.
If you make a really great survey, can you make a copy of it?
Ah, of course. If you create a great survey, can you make, not only you can create a copy of it, you can actually share it with other people. So let's go into Connect for a second. First of all, when you click on Create New Survey, you are going to find templates that we provide, samples that we provide, and we have a community. These are actually surveys that the community can share. So you can create, if you are proud of your survey and you want to share it, you can actually push it into ArcGIS Online, share it with everyone, so everyone can actually find it. So say you are building one on, restaurant inspections, right? So you can actually add it and share it with people. The other thing is that if you are actually signed into your own organization, you'll see that you can see surveys that other people in the org have created. So here now I can see my surveys. Those are surveys I created. So I can create another survey using this like a cookie cutter kind of approach. And I can see surveys that other folks in my organization have created as well, right? The other thing is that if you have a survey that you like, you can also come here and say, create a new survey like this, right?
This one. Yeah. Like there.
Next question.
Keep going. Go for it.
I was wondering, we talked a lot about picture attachments, but I see a huge use case for actually admin staff, admin specialists in the office, kind of attaching PDFs and zip files and shape files for other people for it to be later introduced or be allowed to do other kinds of attachments.
Right.
Short answer is you can actually attach them now. You just won't be able to display them anywhere. It's kind of an error. But yes, that is a goal, a long-term goal, to be able to attach other documents. The key thing is being able to display them on all of the different platforms and the different devices. So if you were only on Windows, that's fine. There's a plethora of viewers that are available to be able to launch that PDF. So that's the main reason why it's not there at the moment. With the image, being able to display an image is the same, is consistent across all devices.
Two more questions. Two more. Yes.
Rather than keeping track of point data, can you track like a path file?
Mm-hmm. Lines and polygons are coming. So you'll be able to digitize lines and polygons. Last question.
What about audio?
Audio.
If you want to speak a message that goes to the site.
Right. We didn't talk, well, join us in the advanced session, right? Yeah. But we can actually handle audio as well. We will be more than happy to take your questions here. Please join us in the advanced session. Go to the showcase if you want to learn more. Thank you very much for your time.